So throughout the presentation, we've talked about the role of the public health nurse centering around patient education. Patient education is huge in every aspect of nursing, but especially in the role of the public health nurse because we're in close contact with the community, and a lot of the time we build a rapport with them so they trust what we have to say. One aspect of patient education is anticipatory guidance. So this might be with your newborns and infants, educating the parents and telling them not to be alarmed if their child develops a mild fever, teaching them when they should be alarmed, and just educating them that their child might be grumpy or whatever it is. It could also be talking to the college student and telling them that their injection site is probably going to be sore. I know that my son said that the meningococcal B vaccine and Gardasil were two of the most painful vaccinations he's ever received. He said it was almost as bad as a tetanus shot, or as bad as a tetanus shot, and it hurt for like 2 or 3 days afterwards. So this is definitely some patient teaching that you want to do. Regarding patient education specifically, you want to focus on your patient's concerns or the college student's concerns. So when you're focusing on their concerns or listening to them, you want to actively listen, and then you want to validate their concerns, but at the same time be able to dissipate any reasons why they might not want to get immunized. So this could be through sharing data-supported evidence through the FDA or the CDC, pointing them in the right direction to be able to do their research and their own due diligence in researching the topic. So the CDC has a lot of information about any adverse reactions that have been reported in the past, I don't know how long, I'm not entirely sure of the time frame, but they have a list of like adverse reactions that have happened. Another big part of patient education is clarifying any misconceptions. So even though specific to the meningococcal B vaccine, it is a rare disease to contract, even though we had the scares at Princeton and UCSB with the outbreaks, it is still fairly rare. I think I read on it in an article somewhere that you're more likely to actually get in like a traffic accident than you are to contract meningitis. But even knowing that, as the mother of a 17-year-old who's going to graduate in May, and once he told me he was thinking about attending a 4-year university where he would have to dorm, I immediately got him his first dose of the meningococcal B vaccine. And then I started talking to him about how he shouldn't be sharing food and utensils and water bottles. He's also a runner, so I know those kids pass around those hydro flasks like nobody's business because they're all thirsty or someone forgot their water, and this increases his risk of contracting meningitis. So even as a parent, knowing how rare it is, knowing that it is a vaccine preventable disease, and hearing the survivor stories about the students the lacrosse player at UCSB who lost his limbs due to the vaccine, or reading about the death of the Princeton student. It's enough to scare me, and even after I told my son all of this information about the disease, enough to even convince him to get the vaccination. I mean, even at 17, no one likes to get a shot, but I think that's just when you show the data-supported evidence and you give stories and real life stories of things that have actually happened to people who've gotten meningitis. I think it goes a long way to convince parents or students or whoever it is that the risks of any possible adverse reaction to the vaccination outweighs the risk of actually contracting the disease. So so patient education is huge when it comes to the role of the public health nurse.